Yeah, I started running longer distances about 9 years ago. It was around 2017. I know some of you have heard the story before, but my daughter invited me to run a 5K race with her. At the time, I wasn't running at all. I was just still going to the gym, doing some light exercises here and there. I went out for walks, etc. But I was 30 pounds heavier than I am today. And so she invited me to run this 5K race in Virginia Beach. I reluctantly said okay and started training for this 5K race. Right, so training went well. It revealed to me how out of shape I was because back then I couldn't even run a mile. I'd try running a mile and I'd need to stop after a quarter mile to catch my breath. That was my start. So I kept chugging along, kept training, and the 5K race came around. It was in the summer of 2017. It was the rock and roll, the Virginia Beach Rock and Roll, which no longer happens in Virginia Beach. And I ran the 5K and was happy afterwards. I ran it in 31 minutes. It was great. I felt good about myself. I had accomplished something. And from that point forward, I decided running was going to become my passion. I was going to continue running and perhaps for the rest of my life, right? And here I am 9 years later. I did continue running, and now 9 years later, I've run 10 marathons. So you never know what life is going to present to you and what your calling is going to be. Because back then, in 2017, running wasn't even on my radar. You know, I was a physical fitness guy. I believed in staying fit, but not to the extent of putting myself through the hardship, shall we say, of running. So that 5K in 2017 led to a few more 5Ks, which led to some 10Ks. Then I decided, hey, why don't I try a half marathon? That was a big deal, 13.1 miles. So sure, I went ahead and signed up again for the Rock and Roll Half Marathon, which was happening, I think, in 2019 or 2018, somewhere thereabouts. And I trained for it. Training was a lot more taxing. I had to do long runs and some intervals and speed work, but I kept up with the training. And sure enough, when race day came, I ran the half marathon successfully. I finished in around 2 hours and 23 minutes, which for me was a win, you know, because I wasn't a long distance runner. Although, you know, from my background that I've been a sprinter. I had been a sprinter in high school. But as I like to say, after high school, I hung up my spikes and never returned to running. I chose instead to do life, raise a family, pursue the career, you know, the usual stuff. So it wasn't until, as I said, in my mid-50s that I started running again. I heard the call for the marathon. And sure enough, I said to myself, well, wait a minute, if I can run a half marathon, and I had done, at that point, I had done several. I had done at least 7 or 8 half marathons. I decided I'm going to give the marathon a try, which I did. And my last half marathon was the One City Marathon in March of 20. And 2 weeks later, we had COVID. At that point, I had already decided I was going to train and run for a marathon. But sure enough, I think my first one was Shamrock. Shamrock accommodated runners by making it virtual. So my first marathon was a virtual marathon, which I ran alone, no support. And I ran it at the Dismal Swamp in Chesapeake. That was my first marathon. I did it alone. I had no support. I had nobody there for me at the time. But I felt strong enough to be able to handle myself, which I did. And I finished that first marathon in 5 hours and 20 minutes. It was brutal. The last 10K took me by surprise. I wasn't ready, shall we say. But I did it. I finished, and I was hooked. A few months, the following year, I did the Marine Corps Marathon, which is also a virtual. And that was my first marathon that I broke 5. I did that one in 4:52. And then the progression went on. My first live marathon was Richmond. I did Richmond. Then, of course, the opportunity came calling via the Unforgiving Marathon team, which I became a member of during the COVID session, during the COVID lockdown. And big thank you and big shout out to Joel Almonte, who invited me to become a Masters captain of the Unforgiven Marathon team, because he had seen me train on social media. He liked my training philosophy, and he invited me to come on board. And that in turn provided me the opportunity to run New York City 3 times, 2022, 2023, and then 2025. The first New York City, I decided to pace my daughter. Now, I remember my daughter was the person that got me into running the years prior. So it was a pleasure for me to run New York City with her for the first time. It was an epic moment that I will never forget. I will live in memory forever. And I mean that, forever. And the following year, 2023, I ran it by myself. And of course, 2025, I did it again. And during the interim, I also did Chicago. What else? I've done the Dismal Swamp Marathon, Tidewater Striders. So a total of, and then I did one city marathon just recently. So a total of 10 marathons. And I'm hooked to long distance running. And why do I run? I run for health and fitness. I run to see what my body can achieve. I like pushing myself, so that's why I run a lot. And it served me well. And as I said in the beginning, as a result of this running journey, I've lost 30 pounds. That's a huge win for me, because I was moving in the wrong direction in terms of weight gain and etc. And, you know, the weight gain can wreak havoc on your health. So that was a win. And the other win was the many friends and acquaintances that I've made over the years has made a huge difference in the trajectory of my social life, sporting life, my professional life, etc. It's been grand. So I owe a lot to running, and I'm here to, this is my testimony and my story as my journey has unfolded, and I hope that the journey will continue to unfold, and the best, I believe, is yet to come. So if you're a runner, if you're someone thinking about getting into running in your 50s, 60s, even 70s, of course, make sure you're in the proper shape to pursue physical activity. But once you get the okay from your healthcare practitioner or your doctor, just go all out and just enjoy it. Start easy, move slow, and just let the body build itself, and you'll be the better for it. You'll become a better version of yourself, and you will appreciate life even more. And finally, what I'd like to say also is, as a result of this running journey, back 5 years ago, I created the Rookie Runners podcast. And the Rookie Runners podcast has allowed me to interview multiple runners, local runners, runners from overseas. And as a result of that, I've learned so much. I've allowed these guest runners to come and share their value about running, because I call the show the Rookie Runners Podcast because I believe that we all have a shared experience. We were all rookies at one time, whether it was elementary school, whether it was high school, or any other time. We remember that rookie experience, and we can translate that rookie experience into what we've learned and what made us better, what made us become a better version of ourselves, share it with others so others can learn and grow. So check out the Rookie Runners Podcast. It's available on all podcast playing platforms. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your journey, whatever you're passionate about. Keep doing it to the best of your ability so you can become a better version of yourself, and wish you the best always moving forward. And again, the best is yet to come.